Good morning, friends, or good afternoon. This is Grace here at the Comfy Nest with Grace. I am so sorry I'm a minute late, but I'm here for the Crafty Bunch event. It's a paper crafting event today, and it is crafter's choice. So we get to do any type of paper crafting we like. This event starts now with me. It is 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, and it will end up at the end of the day with Dina Ray from Designs by Dina. She will be finishing us off at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. So stick along with us. In the Crafty Bunch is the name of the group. This one is being hosted by two different pages, so I want to get those right. It is Roberta with Country Chic Boutique and Bev with Bev's Creating with Love and Whimsy. Those are the two fancy ladies who are putting this together for us today. I thank you for letting me be part of it. It is exciting that I'm part of the Crafty Bunch now. This is my first time being a presenter, my first full month being a presenter, and my first time back from vacation. I've had quite a whirlwind this spring and summer, but I'm happy to be back and happy to be creating with you guys. I've got this book here that I'm going to tell you all about. I just want to welcome you all, whether you're here in the Crafty Bunch, which is a free craft community that you can join, or if you're here on the Comfy Nest with Grace. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a friend and hanging out with me. There's Diana. Hello, Diana. Welcome, welcome. And there's Bev, one of our hostesses. Bev's Creating with Love and Whimsy. Bev, thanks for letting me be part of this. I apologize for being a minute late. I just was having trouble getting everything connected right. So I'm sorry for that. There's Constance. Connie is saying hello. She's over on YouTube. Thanks for being here. So you guys, the Crafty Bunch group is on Facebook, as well as Paper, Bling, and All the Things. That is the group that both Roberta and Bev are part of. So make sure you join either one of those or both. Better yet, join both so that you can hang out with us and do all the paper crafting, especially if you like paper crafting, paper bling, and all the things. So Patricia, thanks for being here. Hey, Pat. Janet's here. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Carol. Hello. It's good to see you. Again, my name is Grace. This is the Comfy Nest with Grace. I'm going to show you what I'm working on here. I'm going to grab a chair so I can sit down and relax, and let's hang out and create. Hey, Debbie. There's my friend Debbie from Washington. How are you, girl? Okay, this little book I just created yesterday inside my private group, my membership club, good gravy, Craft Therapy Club is the name of my group. So what I wanted to do is take this. This is a praise book, 31 Days of Praise, that I got at the thrift store for like $1. And I wanted to turn it, I am turning it into a junk journal. I love art journals. I love junk journals. I love decorating the pages. I love creating them. I love turning things that would otherwise get thrown out, so junk, into treasures, into things that we can use and create in and be creative with. So this book, yesterday or the day before in the Craft Therapy Club, we were doing napkin crafting. We do that twice a month in the group. So this bird scene is a napkin, and this floral is a napkin. And what I did, because I wanted to incorporate some of the praise book, I used one of the pages on the cover underneath that napkin, and you can see it says An Introduction to Praise right there. That's the book. That's what each page has on the top of it. And then I chose, there's actually a psalm right underneath there, which I thought was so pretty and such a good way to honor the book that it was. We will be turning it into something else, but we're using some of the pages from inside the book for both the front and the back cover. I did the same thing here, and you can see a psalm there. Then I covered the binding with some fabric. We did that all in the private club. Now we're gonna pull it apart. We're gonna pull it apart. Any of you book repurposers? Do you repurpose books for different things? That's what I'm gonna do. And I know it gets some folks feel a little funny about that. Here's what I'll tell you. I'll never do that to an antique book or like a really old book. So for some reason, I feel more challenged by pulling apart a book that's been around for 150 years. This book has not. There's probably lots of them in production. And I used to work at the thrift store where I bought it. And I know they are just overrun with books. I know that our local library is overrun with books. Sometimes I get my books from our local library. They have semi-annual sales, and there are books there that I can grab that are great bones for creating new purposes for these books. So that's what we're going to do today. Bev loves to repurpose books. I got to put that comment up. She says, I love repurposing books. Bev, I do too. I do too. It makes me so happy to give it new life. I went to our recycling. I went to our dumpster one day. We have to bring our recycling to the dumpsters, the recycling dumpsters, and I brought my own recycling there, our newspapers, magazines, that kind of stuff. This was a few years ago. But one of the small local libraries had tossed out, I mean, there was a bin, a full recycling bin, you know, the really, really big ones, the ones that only the truck can lift and empty, full of books. And I was like, no, so many books. I would much rather take a book that no one has a use for and do something lovely with it and enjoy it as a work of art than just throw it out. So for those of you who struggle with the thought of it, I would just ask you to keep an open mind and keep in mind that dumpster full of books. I don't want to see a dumpster full of books. I'd rather reuse them and recreate them. So we're paper crafting. Obviously, a book is made out of cardboard and paper, but also we're going to take out these insides and we're going to recreate. We're going to sew together a binding. I'll show you how in a little bit. I grabbed some other things. So in the Craft Therapy Club, we were repurposing napkins. And so we decoupage napkins onto dictionary paper. Again, all paper crafting. And so if you can envision, I created these to be the right size to go inside this book. I think a dictionary page with some sort of painting or image on the front on it can be so cute because you can see those dictionary words right through the image that comes from the napkin. And it's just such a sweet way to combine papers and make pretty things out of them. This was a napkin that said, "Rejoice in the Lord always." And it had some other things on it that I tore apart and tore away. And I just used the wording, but I just think it's beautiful and lovely. And then on this one, I think I used a bunny rabbit on the back. Right? So these are in the wings waiting to go in this book. I grabbed some cardstock and one piece of mulberry paper that has some flowers embedded in it. Isn't that pretty? And then I also grabbed, this is my local phone book. It's from years past. This one is from 2019. My old phone books, I don't throw them out. I turn them into paper scrap collage books. And you put all my little paper scraps, the piece of paper that you would have thrown out because it was an extra little piece sitting around. That's actually a coffee filter there. And some bits of fabric. And I simply glue them down on pages. And then when it comes time for me to create a mixed media project or a craft journal or art journal page, I can pull from these as wonderful backgrounds or pages for my signature. So I have that set aside as well. So let's get this torn apart. We'll do this together. I'm going to make the screen, well, I think you can see that just fine. I was going to make the screen bigger, but maybe what I'll do is see if I can just drop you down a little bit so you can see even better. Yes, that's awesome right there, that view. Hey, Jennifer, how are you, friend? Welcome, welcome. Thanks, Carol. Carol said I did my first altered book thanks to Bev for showing me. Bev, you're getting a kudos from Miss Carol. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Yeah, Debbie, the telephone book. Any of these old magazines, junk mail that you get, that really sturdy catalogs that you get in the mail, they make great books for paper collage. So all those scraps of paper that you have sitting around that you don't know what to do with, I keep them all in a bin. I call this tired crafting. Like on a night when I want to be creative, but I don't have a lot of energy left, either physically or mentally, paper collage is such a really relaxing thing to do that does not take a lot of thinking. And I prep all these pages. I have a big book and a little book that I do this in. And then I use up the pages throughout the year. So it works out both as an outlet for me creatively, but also then I could use the pages on future projects. Hey, Miss Cheryl, how are you, Mama P? All right, we're going to try to cut this down. Now, here's the thing. I debated. When I open this book, usually in a book, this piece of paper that covers this, the inside cover, is this. It's one big piece of paper. So these two are the same piece of paper. Okay. And then here, these two are actually attached, and then this one is not. If you look at the anatomy of a book, it's really interesting. If you've never looked at it, you can really start to figure some things out. So in the back, this is really obvious here. This is the same piece of paper that's in the front, but this is all one piece of paper glued down. So I debated, do I cut? I got to cut it. I got to cut it, girls. Where do I cut? I'm going to try to salvage this. It's like blue speckles in it. It's really pretty. it's probably a very thin piece of mulberry paper. So I'm going to try to cut this so that I can salvage that inside piece. And then we're going to pull out. I'm going to make sure you can see that. Really sharp knife. We're going to, you can see it. It usually has a sort of netting in there. Can you see that little grid? It's almost like a really open cheesecloth almost. But if I can get at that binding, then I can add my own binding. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to reconstruct this. If you've never done this before, is this making you nervous? Every time I do this, you never know quite what you're going to get. Like, you think, see, that's such a pretty piece of paper on its own. And then it's attached to this one. Maybe I can use this. Gracie grew. If I keep those together, it's too late now. I already started to pull it apart. Maybe I can use this in the book as well to kind of honor what the book was. Isn't that such a pretty piece of paper? It will not go to waste. It has all those little blue specks in it. Mulberry paper. Okay, I got that done pretty cleanly. Now what I got to do is get to, excuse me, I think I'm having a little allergy issue today. I got to get to this, see it? How it's separating? That is a set of pages that is all glued together and then stuck in the book. I'm going to do the same thing with my own pages. But I got to get this apart. We're going to wrangle it a little bit. See that? See what we're doing? We're trying to get that apart. We're going to wrangle it and then separate. It seems that netting is underneath. Just be you could just rip this apart like some muscle man, muscle woman. I don't want to do that. I want to be kind of gentle with it so that I can repurpose it and it's in a really good shape. So I'm just slowly trying to detach. There we go. This complete signature that is glued together here, and then it was glued to this netting, which is inside the book. This netting is underneath these two pieces of paper. So I'm going to leave that there. It actually helps to fortify that binding so it stays nice and strong. All of this, it has all these lovely psalms on it and words of praise. Will not go to waste. We'll use it somehow. And I love the blue speckled paper, so we're gonna keep that close by. I may end up using that in this book somehow. So this is what I'm left with. This I can work with. Easy breezy. My fabric bits here that covered the binding, they're kind of gnarly. I left all these scraps of thread kind of hanging out here because I really like the look of that. So in here, we are going to glue down a signature of pages. So what I did earlier that you wouldn't have seen, I took an old envelope. It's actually a Choc Couture. I'm a Choc Couture designer. I have been since the company started 7 years ago. So I took one of their old envelopes. Of course, I keep them because I'm a paper recycler. And I cut 2 strips out of this thick, heavy envelope. And I glued them together, and that's what this little strip is. You didn't see me do that, but all I did was cut it to size and glue 2 pieces of paper, 2 pieces of that envelope together. I did that a few hours ago, so it would be nice and dry and ready to go. And that's what I'm going to put my signature in, and then I'm going to glue it in here. So I'm going to glue that way. This is called a hidden binding. The thread that I'm going to use to sew the pages in will be hidden, meaning it's going to be back here, the thread. You will not see it out here. I don't have to poke through my cover. I just have to poke through this little piece of cardboard that I'll be gluing in there. So fancy, so fun. Hey, Callie, how are you, my friend? Thanks, Gail. I appreciate you saying that. Hey, from Casey, Kansas City. Thanks for saying that you love the book. I appreciate that. Okay, so now what I got to really figure out is where are the signature pages that I'm going to sew into this. I'm just going to do one signature. We're going to keep it really simple. One signature, so it's going to be 3 holes, but I got to figure out my pages. So let's do that next. I don't know. I have 5 of these. I don't know if I'm going to use all of them. Let's get some other pages prepped. And then once I get all those pages together, I can decide if that's what I want to keep or if I want to do something different. Hey, girl. Hey, there is Dina. How are you, Dina? You guys, I am feeling so disconnected from everybody. I was recovering from a hysterectomy that I had in June. So I was offline for quite a while. I'm still recovering from the hysterectomy, but right at was it the 8-week mark? 7-week mark, I had 10 of my family members come here to North Dakota to visit me. This was the first time most of them were here, although I've lived here for 24 years. First time many of them came, and for our family, we have a once a year family reunion. So they came from Florida, Delaware, and Massachusetts to visit me. It was a thrill. It was a thrill to have them. I actually have 2 brothers still here visiting with me. And that was quite a bit of a distraction. So I'm feeling very, very like out of the loop, girls. I'm out of the loop and I miss you, but it has been a lovely visit with my family. It was a good way to kind of finish out my time off from the surgery. Okay, I did make a mark on these so I knew how tall to make them. Now I got to find my pencil. I made it small and now I can't find it. There it is. Okay, so I think I'm just going to do some tearing. I think I'm just going to tear these instead of using a paper cutter. I like the organic look of the torn paper. And let's see, we'll do this one separately because it is a little bit different. The rest of them are all cardstock. So let me do 2 of these at a time. I'm going to try to just tear through with the ruler and tear them down to a good size. All right, I think right there is my mark. It's not quite on the line, but we're going to make it work. I kind of like the rugged, scrappy look of the torn paper as opposed to using a cutter. I just like that look. Now, that is the right height for our book. Now I got to figure out, I could do a fold here. Let's see, like, I'm not a measurer girl. Like this is how I measure. This is how I measure. I can fold it here. I'm just bringing it to where the binding is. If I fold it there, I have this excess paper on this end here that I can either tear off. That's going to fit in there lovely. I can either tear this off or keep it in there and make like a little side pocket out of it or something. So if I did this, do you see, if I keep that on there, then I'm going to have a nice little place. I could make that a little tuck spot or something in that page. So I'm going to leave this one like that. And this one I am going to tear because I don't want too many of those tuck spots. So we're going to tear this off. And I keep doing this until I get enough pages for my signature that feel like ample enough for filling the book. So I'm going to put all my scraps aside because I'll probably use those in the end somehow. And we're going to keep doing the same thing. So I've got all of these. I don't know that I want to use all of these. So let's take a peek. I'm going to use this one and I'm going to use this one. I'm going to set this one aside. Thanks, Christina. I appreciate your good well wishes. She says, I hope you're doing good. I'm doing better, I will say. Having my family here for a week was like totally filled my heart. But I have to admit, we were up till midnight almost every night. Well, I've been sleeping a lot before that because of the hysterectomy. I was sleeping a lot, of course, to get as much rest as possible. And then I was up really late for the week that they were here. So I have to tell you, they plumb out exhausted me. I wouldn't have it any other way. You know how it is when you go on vacation? Well, anyway, for me, I only see my family once a year. So I try to like stay up as late as possible. If somebody's staying up, I want to stay up so I can visit with them and see them and get as much quality time in as possible. So I try really hard to stay up with the latest of them. I'm a bit tired. It's just the way it goes, right? It's just the way it goes. Okay, on this one, I can use this as my template because that's what I tore off of that other one. See, I don't measure. I just use templates. I eyeball. I make little fold spots where I think it should be. And then it all works out in the end. I don't like things to be super, well, here's the thing. I don't want it to look like a precise manufactured book. I want it to look like a handmade book because to me, something handmade is more precious. It is a unique, one of a kind, nobody else has it, piece of art. So I don't necessarily want all of the pages to be super precise and exactly the same, if that makes any sense. That's just kind of the way I look at it. I love this color. It's like a really ruddy green, and I think it's quite beautiful. So here right now, I have 4 cardstocks. One of them has this flip out, which does add a little extra bulk. And then I have 5 of these. I want to do that mulberry paper, so let's grab that and see. Isn't it pretty? It has the rose petals embedded in it and little bits of like greenery. So this one is too tall and too long. So we're going to tear just like we did. It was the same size to start, 8.5 by 11. Let's see. I don't know if this mulberry paper will tear as easily as the cardstock. Let's try it and see. You're like that with your family, Christina? I completely understand. You want to spend as much quality time as possible. Okay, it did not tear perfectly, but that's my vibe, man. I like that we got these chunks out of here. It's really kind of gnarly and stringy. To me, that just makes my heart happy because it means it's unique. All right, I don't know that I'm going to be able to tear through this. There's a rose petal right there. Let's see what it does. I don't know. It's probably going to take the whole rose out. Although, if you've ever dried flowers, they do get really brittle. What did it do? Look at it, kept it on there. I was able to just pull it off real quick. Maybe we can use that somehow. I'll just leave it aside. I really like this flowery paper. Okay, so now I have all of this. It's feeling really thick to go in one signature. I want at least one of these pages from my paper collage book. And so I'm going to flip. I don't want the checks or stripes. I'm going to go for a soft, pretty vibe. This is very soft and pretty, but I do have one flower standing upright on that one. This one's cool. It has corrugated, like that's an envelope, the inside of an envelope there. Let's use that. That's like probably an Amazon envelope. So it needs to be, it's almost the right height. If I leave it alone, let's try to leave the height alone and just take off a chunk of this and see what happens. It'll be taller than all the other ones by just a smidgen. Phone book paper. All right, let's do it. Right? Totally unique and organic, and it's got texture. It's got sound. It's got a feel to it. I love it. Okay, let's put these together and just see what would this look like if we made this a signature. This is my cover, and when you open the book, the first thing that you see is going to be the cover of that signature. I think actually I wouldn't mind it being that because this has some green on it. If I open it to that and then start mixing in the other pages, and I just will randomly put pages in here. Like if we did that page next, and then let's do the pink cardstock, the lighter pink, the blush pink. So please let me know if you're here for the first time. Please give us a first timer shout out. And I know that the other ladies who are here who are not first timers, those members who are either in my club, in my free craft community, who just regularly hang out here at the Comfy Nest, we call them crafty chicks. You're welcome to be a crafty chick here alongside us. I know that they're going to give you a big warm welcome. We love to chat about where we're all coming from because it's amazing that social media allows us to connect from all over the world, all over this country in the United States, and be together here doing what we love, which is being creative. Okay, this is definitely taller than everything else by quite a bit. I'm not sure that I'm feeling that like liking that too much. So I'm going to tear just a tiny smidge of this off. Let's take it from the bottom. And because it is got corrugated cardboard, let's see if I can do it. Yeah, it allowed me. It allowed me. I allow it. All right, there we go. But I think I'm going to go this way. That feels like a pretty good signature, although I'm not done. Let's put this one in here. And then this little birdie can go in here. And actually, if it fits, no, it won't fit. I was gonna say I could put that inside, but this is a little, just a tish longer. Maybe I do it a little differently. Maybe I switch places with you and with, maybe the black's not going to be in here after all. Let's see. We got a pretty hefty signature here. So these pages can be written on. You can glue things down to them, like photos and tickets. Like if you're on a vacation and you get park tickets or museum tickets or your airline tickets. It can be, I think these little books make great keepsakes for things like, say, a wedding shower or a baby shower. You have all the guests write something to the guest of honor here in the book, and then you can glue down any menus or, like I said, tickets or cards that they got with the gifts. These books can be used for so many different things. I'm really liking all of it, although I feel like it's just too much cardstock. So I think I'm going to take this black one out. It just feels a little bit too rigid to me. And maybe I can find one more, not this one, because we already have plenty of those. One more piece of paper that I can embed in here. If I folded this like this, this is that inside cover paper. I could repurpose this in here. And then let's just find a place where it seems to, it kind of matches this blue flower. So maybe I'll stick it in here. And I'm going to put it close to, well, let's go close to the top this time. Now I'm going to poke 3 holes in here. I always do one in the center and then one about an inch from the top and an inch from the bottom when I do 3 holes. So this short piece of paper, it matters where you put it. If I put it directly in the center, it's probably not going to get that top hole or that bottom hole, and then it's going to be really wishy-washy in there and really move around a lot. So I do want to force that to the top or the bottom so that it gets this hole, and it'll also get that center hole. It'll really hold it in place. Okay, so it does matter. I do take that into account when you're putting a book together. And I love a book that has pages that are all different textures, thin, like this is really thin and the cardstock is thick. They don't match. They don't all come from the same source. Some of them, this is purchased cardstock, and this is a dictionary page that has been repurposed and decorated to make pretty. I think that's plenty. I think we got plenty going on here. Okay, and we were able to work in that blue paper from the book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip these all together because it'll help me with the sewing part. These really big paper clips. I sell them in my store at thecomfynestwithgrace.com. They're really handy for holding things together. We're going to sew this into the binding and then glue it down into the book. Oh, what about this one? Why did I take that one out? Does anybody know? What was I thinking? It's so beautiful. It has to be in here. Why did I take it out? Why did I do that? Oh, Kimberly, thanks for welcoming all the newies. I appreciate you so much. Hey, Capri, how are you? You like that for the front page for the signature, right? Really simple. And then, Carol, if I wanted to, we could put like a little pocket here. Maybe I could use one of the leftover pieces and either do a tuck spot or a pocket. We'll see. I'm never sure. I have lots of little extra pieces of paper from what we used on the inside that we can use to further decorate. But yeah, this has to go in there somewhere. We can't leave this out. It's just too gorgeous. And I do actually really like it next to the pink. I like it right here. That just seems so beautiful to me. Okay. Do you see how they're not all the same size? It just makes my heart happy. We can all be a little different and equally make this book beautiful. Each little page has a part in making this book beautiful. Okay. So I want to make sure, I call it the V. There's probably a name for it, but I don't know what it is. Right here at the V, at this juncture where the papers fold in half. This little V, you want the papers to be touching. They need to be really tight when you start sewing to make sure that you have really good contact and that nothing is real loose when you're done sewing. Okay, I have my little piece of cardboard here. This is what I'm going to sew it into. So I've got to figure out where my hole's going to go. So I'm going to grab my little pokey tool And I'm going to just do a quick figure of where the center is. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches, 7 1/4. So I know 1, 2, 3.5, and then another quarter is the halfway mark. So right about here. And I'm just going to go in the center. I don't measure, I eyeball, and I just wing it. I'm not a measuring girl. I'm just not. Measuring stresses me out. And so my perspective is creating and crafting should be our outlet for fun. That's why I named my private group the Craft Therapy Club. It's supposed to be therapy. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to bring your heart joy. And measuring in fractions stress me out. So the more I have to measure and do fractions, the less I enjoy creating. So I just don't do it anymore. I eyeball everything. We eyeball it. Here's an inch down. I can go an inch down from the top, an inch down from the bottom. And see, I make that little hole right in the middle. And then I'm just going to twist. And I'm putting all the pressure on the ball of this. It's called an awl, A-W-L. I got it off Amazon for like less than $4. You can get them at any hardware store too, I think. So I'm going to do this until I break through to the back. And then when I see that little dot on the back, because I'm trying to get through 2 layers of cardboard, I'm going to take it from that side now and go through until I have a complete hole. I really like this hole. You can use a hole punch, but I like this hole to be kind of tight. I don't want it to be really loose or big because then your pages move around in your book a lot. And we don't want that. Okay, I'm going to put this back down and I'm going to go an inch. In the middle, add an inch. We're going to make our last hole, and then we're going to sew. We're going to hand sew with some waxed thread these pages in. Mary, I did. She said, did you use your paper with the flowers? That I almost lost track of that mulberry paper, but I found it. Denise Anderson, one of our crafty chicks here, she actually lives about a half hour from me here in North Dakota. She sent me that paper, and I've been using it slowly. I've been using it up, and I'm loving it. Okay, here now, what I want to do is I want to make the holes in the signature at the same place as the holes are in my binding. So I'm going to use that as my guide. I'm going to center my binding piece into my signature because some of the pages are a little taller than it. And now I'm going to take my pokey tool. Let's get a flat surface. I've got this right up against, right in that V, right up against that V. And I'm going to take my pokey tool, and everywhere where there's a hole, I'm going to push against that V. Let's get it centered, Gracie. It popped on me. If your stuff moves around on you, just have a lot of clips on hand. Okay, what I can do, if stuff is moving around on you and you want to be super precise, just clip it down. Then it's not going to budge. You know, all your holes are going to be in the right place. So I'm going to take my pokey tool right where that center hole is. And I'm going to push this down, and I'm going to just push through that V. I'm going to wiggle my hand back and forth, slowly adding pressure. I have a lot of pages to get through, so be patient with yourself until it pokes right through that paper. Can you see that? Let's see. If I hold something light up against, you can see that the tip of the awl, that pointy tool, came right through the paper. And I want it to be big enough so that my needle can find it, but I don't want it to be ginormous. That's why I like to use the awl. It has a tapered blade, or not blade, but it has a tapered nature to it. So it's really skinny down here, and then it gets wider as you go up the shaft of this awl. So down here, the hole would be smaller. So I usually only go about up to here so that I make sure my holes aren't these big, huge, gaping holes. And then my paper won't slide around in my book. If you're new to making books, and you have loose pages, either it's not tied, the string is too loose, or your holes are too big. See, we got it through there. Just through. Okay, now they match up. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to sew this on, and then I'm going to glue it in. Now, I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to put a piece of fabric. So this is aesthetic, and it also will hold it together. I was thinking about, I could glue this in, but when you open the book, you're going to see this gnarliness right there. So I was thinking I had an extra piece of that blue fabric that I used on the outside. So let's see if this will work. If I cut this down to cover this up, it could be prettier. And it actually will add some more strength to the binding. So I'm going to cut it just shorter. I put a little notch there at the right height, and then I'm going to tear because I love the gnarliness of that. And I would want it to go maybe between a 1/2 inch to 1 inch over this spot right here. This spot that we're trying to hide, I would want to overlap that by about, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1 inch. It doesn't really matter. Just whatever you think looks nice. So let's cut this about right here. See, my measuring methods, they're very non-stress. They're very non-stress. So it's going to be like this. Now it's a little bit long, actually. I'm going to cut a little bit. I think I want to take just a smidgen off the bottom here. I don't quite need it. Oh, it's not going to let me because it's such a tiny piece. I'll try it this way. There we go. All those gnarly bits I love. They make me happy. We're going to put this over this. It's going to fortify. It matches the outside of the book. It's blue just like the inside of the book, and it's really going to hold that in place when we're ready to glue this down. So I need first to glue this to this, and then I'm going to sew my pages to it, and then I'm going to glue it down. I want it on the other side. Then I'm going to glue it down to the book itself. Does that make sense? Let's use some good old Fabri-Tac. Hey, Jeanette, how are you, friend? How are you? You like that giant paper clip? They're so handy, Gail, to be truthful with you. They're just so handy. Like I said, I sell them in sets of, I think sets of 10 on my website, thecomfynestwithgrace.com. Go to the craft supplies section and you'll find some bookbinding supplies. I think it's in that section. Journal making and bookbinding. So I added a lot of fabric glue on there. I'm just going to center it best I can. I'm not going to get too worked up over things being uber perfect because it just takes all the fun out of it. Okay, now here, this is going to be the underside. This is what we're going to see. This is what our signature is going to get attached to. Okay, I'm going to pull on this a little bit because I'm going to stretch that fabric down there. Okay, now my holes are still there, but of course now my fabric doesn't have those holes. That's not a problem. We're just going to come through from this side and poke a little hole through the fabric. The fabric is easy to get a hole through. It's very easy. Very forgiving too. So now I've made my holes in the fabric. I wonder if I make this bigger on this side, if you can see it better. You can see the little puckers right there, there, and there. That's where I'm going to sew my signature into. 1, 2, 3. Now I do have a workshop called Make a Junk Journal Start to Finish that all Craft Therapy Club members have access to. I did it live last year and I made it a video recording that anybody can purchase at any time. It gives you the supply list and you'll use either a cereal box or a like a cracker box from home, and likely you probably have a lot of the things that you can use to make your book from start to finish at your own pace. You can follow the videos, you can stop them, you can rewind them, you can pause them, you can pause it, go eat your dinner and come back to it and do it at your own pace. I just want to make sure I have the right side up because there is an up and a down to this. There's my little blue piece of paper and I wanted that up top. So I had to stop talking there for a minute. If you wanted to follow through and learn how to do this with step-by-step instructions that are very, very detailed, you can purchase that workshop from me or join the Craft Therapy Club and then you'll have access to it too. That's the other way to get it. You get all of my workshops as part of your membership. You get the whole library. My membership started in 2019, April of 2019. We are on project 65 this month. So there's quite a few projects, mixed media projects, craft projects, bookmaking projects. that you would have access to as a member. Or you can just buy the individual class. That's an option too, or as well. I have been doing a lot of 5-hole bindings, so I actually had to remind myself, how do I do a 3-hole again? I had to like think about that for a minute. Using my needle to find my way through. I still have 15, almost 20 minutes, so we're good on time. Okay. Now, see this loosey-goosey? This is what you don't want. You need to tighten all that up, man. We need to have see all this bubble back here? That needs to be taut. T-A-U-T, taut or tight. So we're going to pull on our strings here. And waxed thread, you can use any thread, ladies. When you take a workshop from me and when you join the Craft Therapy Club, I will always tell you, this is what I'm using. It's a waxed thread. It's a specialty thread for bookmaking. It's fabulous. Do you need to have it? No. You can use dental floss. You have dental floss at home. You can use embroidery thread. You can use jute rope. You can use baker's twine. You can use, I have this skinny satin ribbon that I cut out of a sweater. You know those little things that they sew onto your shoulders on a sweater, so when you hang it on a hanger, it's like a support. I cut them out and bring them in my craft room. This would make great binding string. You can use anything, and I will always tell you, the girls in the Craft Therapy Club can attest to this. I will tell you if I'm using what I'm using. You'll get a supply list, and I will always tell you if you don't have this, you can use this instead, because I'm a huge believer in using what you got. Use up what you got, friend. And I'm sure you got if you're like me, you got a stash at home. Got a stash of stuff. Do you have a stash? So what I want to do is be very careful. I'm pulling these taut. The wax thread really stays in place. When you pull on it, it kind of stays because it's waxed. So it has, you can actually form it a little bit. Whereas an embroidery thread, if you see how I fold that in half, it kind of keeps a little crease to it. It remembers. It's the wax that's helping it stay in place, where something like an embroidery thread or this satin ribbon isn't going to do that. So it's a little harder to get a tight fit with those. But if that's all you have, I would say use it. It's a junk journal after all. I need really tight in here. I need really tight right here. I don't want to have any bubbles. And so I'm going to pull on these. I'm pulling on them, but I don't want to pull so hard. It's paper after all that I'm ripping pages. And then we're going to tie. Once we get it nice and tight, we're going to tie this down. And sometimes I leave these extra bits here because if they're long enough, you can put a dangle on them, like put a few little beads. I think that's what I'm going to do with this. I think I'm going to put some beads on this later. So I'm going to leave these long. Sometimes I tie them into a little bow and leave it in the middle of my book. Doesn't matter. It's totally up to you how you do that. Now it's all ready to go. This is a hidden binding, and we're going to hide it. We're going to glue it. Here's my book cover. That's the front. Let's make sure we're right side up again. Let's take that off for a second. There's my blue page. So I know that's right side up. Now we are going to glue this down here. And that is going to glue that into my book, and my book will look like this when it's done. I'm so excited. It gets me so excited. Carol, I guesstimate too, girlfriend. I guesstimate too. Okay, I have two options. We can put the glue on the fabric, or we can put the glue on the paper. I'm going to do a little both. I'm going to put glue on the book. Let's see first, though. I want to make sure there's nothing like that's an extra bit of paper just hanging out there. Let's get that off. And actually, these bits, they're not going to help me at all in the long run. They're just going to, they could make my book cover, the pieces loose. So I'm going to cut that down so I don't have any loose paper hanging around there. I'm going to cut that down because I don't want these little bits of loose making my signature, the pages inside my book, feel loose. So we either need to glue them down or cut them back, and I'll probably do a little bit of both. There we go. I know it looks awful, but nobody's going to see that. It's going to get covered by that pretty fabric or covering. Uh-oh, I just saw something else loose. You're loving it? Oh, gee, I'm so glad. See this? Loosey-goosey? We don't like loosey-goosey at this stage. We want that off of there. The rest of it is glued in with that mesh that's underneath these two pieces of paper. So I know I have a solid attachment there. So now I'm just going to fill with some Fabri-Tac this whole section. We're doing great on time. In 10 minutes, you're going to be able to see this, the book completed, and then it will need to dry for a little bit, but I may do a little stamping on some of the pages. Let's make sure. Where's my front? There's my front. Make sure. I have done it before where I've glued something in backwards. It's never any fun. The other thing is I don't want to get any glue if I can help it on these pages. So I am going to clip these back together again so they're not willy-nilly and like flying all over the place. Now, I put glue here in the middle. I also need glue on these bits of fabric. So I'm going to now take this and add some glue to this fabric. And luckily, Fabri-Tac and Fabri-Fix, they're a pretty loose glue. You can also use bookbinding glue, which is pH neutral, meaning it will never yellow on you. It'll never turn yellow. This won't either, but this is specifically made for fabric, which is a nice bonus. Now, I know when I smush this down on the book that this glue is going to smush with it and spread out a little bit. So I'm trying to use the nozzle, kind of like a paintbrush, and just spread that out using the nozzle. I'm pushing the nozzle up against that fabric. I may have just gotten some on this side. No, I didn't. This allows me, right now I'm not pushing any glue out of the bottle. I'm just using the nozzle to spread. I also want to make sure that I get enough glue. There are my strings that tied it all together. Want to glue those down. This thing ain't going nowhere. It's not going anywhere once we got it down. Uh-oh, where's my top? Where's my little blue piece of paper? Whoops, it's on this side. Oh, it's a good thing I checked. There's my little blue piece of paper that indicates my top. So we're going to put this down right in the middle here. I don't want to smear any glue anywhere I don't need to. So I'm going to kind of I'm going to hover from up above and nestle it down into that spot. And it's loose enough. The nice thing about using a loose glue like this that takes a long time to dry is I can shift this whole thing up and down until it's centered just where I want it. It doesn't, it's like, you know, if you use a glue gun, once you got it down, it starts setting right away and you have no room to wiggle, no wiggle room. This gives you some wiggle room. I'm trying to find something flat, like an old credit card, and I'm just going to spread this gently. I'm not pulling. It's a fabric and it will pull. I don't want to pull it, but I wanted to stretch it enough to make sure I didn't have any bubbles in that fabric. And then I'm going to push down with my finger to make sure the glue fully adheres to the paper and the book. Pushing down nice and strong. Also, where the book folds, the joint right here, I'm going to push and indent the fabric down into that to make sure I have really nice fold lines there so the fabric doesn't come up later in life. It almost makes like a little groove. Do you see that little groove that I created with this? I ran that along in there. That will be my fold line for the book cover. Now this has to dry. I just need to let it sit and dry. Let's make sure I have the front cover. Need to let it sit and dry. And you can always go in and clean up if you don't. I love the look of the ratty bits of fabric kind of hanging out here and there. I love that look. I still have this really pretty blue paper that was originally in the book and I left it there. That really slight mulberry paper. I think I would be tempted to, because I don't want this to come undone. All my little grooves that are here on both sides, I want that to stay. So personally, this is what I do when I'm going to let this sit and dry. I find a way to prop this up, the signature, so that it doesn't fall down and apply pressure. So I would do something like that. I have this little tray, this hard plastic tray that I keep my bookbinding stuff in, like my awl and my needle and my thread. I would just leave it like that and let it dry. Okay, so we're going to do that for a few minutes while I move on to what I really want to do is now figure out, is this the front? Yeah. Do I want to put a little pocket here? Let's take all of our little scraps. Wouldn't that be fun to be able to use that in here? I got to figure that out. It might not be the right place for it, but it would be really fun to use that somewhere. I think I wouldn't mind using like a bit of this is so pretty to make some sort of, wow, this is like the perfect size to make a tuck spot, but I think I would want it to be a little smaller. So I can definitely work on that while that's drying. So I'm going to cut this down or tear it. Where's my ruler? Here it is. Lori, you said it's so timely. Tell me why, my friend. That makes me happy to hear that you were inspired. She said, this is gonna be happening. I'm doing this soon, she says. I love it. Let me hear. Why is it timely for you? Have you been thinking about making a book and you just haven't jumped, or what? Okay, it still feels a little bit too big. Here's what I'm thinking with this. If I want to stick something in there, like so, here I have some art journaling cards here. My art little journal. If I want to stick this in here, there's really not a lot of room. I think this needs to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to take a chunk off of this. A chunk. See how formal I am about it? I'm just going to rip. We're going to rip a chunk off. Oh, that paper was thicker. Took a little more pressure. Now, I still have a tuck spot, but it's a little easier to get the things into that tuck spot. Do you see what I'm saying? Now I'm looking at it. I'm not sure that I like the green polka dots. Maybe I should do this in the back. Let's do it in the back. I don't know that I want that to be the first thing that I see. So to make this a tuck spot, we're just going to glue 3 sides. I'm going to glue here. I'm going to glue this long edge and the short edge, leaving the other long edge open so that we can tuck stuff in there. And again, it's recycling, right? We're recycling a page from my paper collage telephone book. It's actually the excess piece of paper that we used in the book. But now we'll have a little tuck spot there. That's going to need to dry. And it's wanting to wrinkle up. It's wanting to pop up. So again, these little clips come in real handy when you're trying to hold things down. So I'm going to try to do this without, and actually, let's use this one. I'm going to hold these edges down so while the glue is drying, it's going to stay in contact. It wants to bubble up. It's paper, and when you get paper wet, it's going to start billowing and getting a little crinkly. So you use your clips to hold things down until it's dry. It'll hold it in contact with the book, so I truly have a nice tuck spot there. Okay, that one's ready to go. Got a tuck spot in there that's a little decorative and cute. Here, actually, I pulled out some stamps because I was thinking I would stamp some pages. Hold on, I'm going to make a little bit of room because I was putting all my excess stuff on top of my stamps. I just got these stamps and I'm absolutely loving them. I love how bold they are. Do I want to put some numbers in here or a number in here? I like random numbers. Are you a fan of that? Just random numbers or little designs like a little bird or a little heart, just kind of throughout your book that gives your mind something decorative and interesting to look at. So the pages aren't just plain. I do it all the time. Whether I'm keeping the book for myself or selling it in one of my live auctions, I love to just give it some visual interest. Like why the number 3 is jumping out at me. Haven't used it yet. It could be real cool. And I think I'm going to put it in the upper. Why not? Let's get it going. And I pulled out, oh no, I haven't pulled any out yet, but I decided I have white, black, gray. I also have a green. Kind of like the gray. This one is a fog gray, so I think it's even lighter. Before I go in on my page though, I think what I'm going to do is test this fog gray. Now it's going to be on blue. Oh, it's like not even coming off. Is that on there? Hold on, girls. We need a piece of paper. Go into my garbage. Oh, no, I don't have to do that. Hold on. I got watercolor paper right here. I just want to test and see, what does this look like? It's not even coming off. It's dry, too dry. I haven't even used that one a whole lot and it's already dry. Okay, that's all right. Believe you me, I got plenty. Here's another gray. This one's called Pumice Stone. I want it there. It's a very bold number, but I don't want it to be like in your face, bam. Like black would be too much. Let's do it on the watercolor paper to test. That's way too light. Still, I want it to be subtle. That's a little bit too much. Let's try the plain old watering can gray. Let's see. Let's do it. I'm just doing it on the watercolor paper first. Whoa, whoa. See what I'm saying? See how much more bold that is than this one? This is why I practice on a piece of paper first, so I can see exactly what is that color going to look like. Now, I have not re-inked it. If I just do it after not re-inking it, that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to ink it. I'm going to let it loose on my watercolor paper to get rid of most of the ink, and then I'm going to come in on my book, and it'll be a little more subtle. Why? I don't know why a 3. Why not a 3? Like the Trinity. Why not? It's a good number. 3 is a good number. What do you think? How about 31 to match the title page? Ooh, that's good. That's from here. She's taking it from here. Connie, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Connie, you smart cookie, you. I'm doing what you said. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm going to grab the one off of this set. I love these big numbers. They just make me happy for some reason. We're doing the 31 because Connie is smart and she has a great idea, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to use it. Let's do the 31. And then for sure, Connie, I got to figure out somewhere in this book how to fit. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so exciting. I got to fit this in there somewhere, girls. For sure, somewhere like in a pocket or something like that. Our time is up though today. Our time is up. We got this beautiful book going. I think probably I can, yes, that's feeling pretty good. I can close this up and give you a pretty good idea. I know I got my clips hanging out there for what this book is going to look like in its entirety when it's done. We got all our pages sewn in. It does need a little more time to dry. Thank you for being here. Please make sure you follow the page if you like what you saw today, if you like hanging out with me. And next up is Amanda. Amanda Dorrier from Simply Amazing Art is the next crafter in this paper crafting event for the Crafty Bunch and Paper Bling and all the things. Thank you for Roberta and Bev letting me take part in this. I'm honored to kick it off. Go have some fun with the girls in one of those groups. You can follow along throughout the whole event, or just stay to the end of each hour and the presenter will tell you who's next. Like next is Amanda at Simply Amazing Art. You guys have a beautiful, blessed night. Thanks for being here. Much love. Bye.